Welcome in. Welcome in. It's football day.
I feel like we're doing an NFC West deep dive.
You mean the South?
Yeah. Sorry.
Do you actually know your divisions?
I'm just directionally challenged, bro. Like,
is that
ask
something?
me for directions. I'm gonna say left is right and right is left, and yeah.
Well, that's not helpful.
No, it's not.
So don't actually ask you for directions.
No.
It might be something you might want to work on. Those divisions don't change, by the way.
Through life up to.
You've gotten this far. Why stop now?
Yeah, I mean, if I end up in the wrong place at some point, then it's all about the journey, bro.
I can respect that. None of you are in the wrong place. You are all in the right place. Welcome to the Face Mask Podcast.
Thanks for turning that around.
Yeah, I did a positive spin there. John Alsace, Nick Payne, continuing to just break down news as it trickles in with the fantasy playoffs upon us here in Week 15. So, John, an RB1, I think it's fair to call Ronald Jones, a guy with RB1 week-to-week RB1 potential at this point, has gone down due to injury. Well, it is injury, finger surgery.
Oh, I thought he was on the COVID list too.
So he first had surgery on, I think it was his pinky finger, and then he got hit on then he was put on the COVID list. So kind of a double whammy for Ronald Jones. All that's to say, he's not playing Sunday's game when the Bucs go on the road to take on division rival Atlanta Falcons. Not sure what this could mean for the Bucs backfield overall. Ronald Jones was, if you drafted Ronald Jones at this point, he's a guy you were relying on.
Yeah, he's sandwiched right in between David Montgomery and Jonathan Taylor as the RB13 right now on the season in half PPR.
There you go. So in 12-team leagues, he's a low-end RB1 on any given week, high-end RB2. That's not production that grows on trees. So odds are
coming into the season, if that's kind of where
he was one of your
expected
guys.
Leonard Fournette to end up. Because
I definitely thought he'd have a bigger role.
He'd always kind of been around that. Benchmark as far as the Jacksonville running back. Yeah. And we saw him go to a new team. He was probably going to get less work, but it would be more efficient. And we thought, Leonard Fournette's going to probably
touches.
end up as the RB12. But we see Ronald Jones is there, but now he's not going to be playing for this week, possibly next week. Where do you go? Do you go back to Leonard Fournette? Because I really don't think so.
I mean, that's
even
the
though
obvious.
You really don't have any choice.
That's what looks like the obvious pivot is to go with Leonard Fournette. Look, we know at this point Bruce Arians prefers to play veterans, especially veterans in the backfield. I
thought they went out and got Leonard Fournette because they wanted a little bit more of a veteran presence, but they haven't been able to rely on him all season.
They just haven't used him. So let's put the obvious out of the way. Keyshawn Vaughn is not on any fantasy radars, not even in the deepest of dynasty leagues at this point. He's a next year question. That's out of the way. So it comes down to Leonard Fournette and LaShawn McCoy. They mixed in Shady last week. He had 4 touches for 32 yards. Obviously, that's not production that's not end game production that you're hoping for from a running back. But that would lend itself to thinking that Shady's going to have a role, and maybe he starts. Fournette was a healthy scratch last week. So despite Ronald Jones going down, what does that tell you that Fournette, when healthy, wasn't even able to lock down a change of pace role or a goal line role?
I do want to talk a little bit about Leonard Fournette, and not specifically from a fantasy standpoint, but obviously it's all relevant. But
that's what we try to do.
First off, he's a guy that he kind of seems like he grates on every coaching staff to the point where they don't feel like dealing with his talent out on the field.
Or they give up on him for reasons X, Y, and Z.
Like in Jacksonville, we knew he was a little bit of a head case, made some silly decisions, and was a me guy. And news kind of came out that in Tampa Bay that he was turning over a new leaf, and this is all stuff that we heard from him. We didn't hear this from Bruce Arians. So
yeah, he's got his best quarterback. He's playing with Tom Brady. It's a veteran team.
So
they have championship aspirations.
Was just lip service from Leonard Fournette, and we had no reason to buy in.
So
this is also
you mean in the preseason? You mean in the beginning of the season?
Yeah.
I didn't hate the landing spot. But obviously, it was tough to project what his role would be because Ronald Jones had been there.
But there was rumblings from Leonard Fournette about, this isn't how I would have handled being benched early in the season in Jacksonville, but I'm here now and I'm turning over a new leaf, so I'm being supportive. And there was all this stuff coming out around week 3, week 4 of the season that he was a different guy, and the implication being, he's turning over a new leaf, and we're going to see a new Leonard Fournette on the field moving forward, but it ended up being we're not going to see Leonard Fournette on the field moving forward.
Yeah, he had one game.
Because I don't think anything changed. And we also have to tie in the fact that he has chronic ankle injuries, and it's not something that's going to go away. We've talked a lot about Todd Gurley and his chronic arthritic knee. Mm-hmm. Leonard Fournette has the exact same thing in his ankle, and we don't talk about it. We also know that Leonard Fournette racked up a ton of touches in college and a ton of touches in Jacksonville. So I just think I think it's gotten to the point where, Nick, you put out a great article, I reference it a lot, Christian McCaffrey getting to 400 touches. Leonard Fournette never got there, but he racked up year after year after year of 300 touch years.
Yeah, he was getting 300 carries in Jacksonville when they were, when he was fresh out of the draft.
Right, and they're not touches that Leonard or that LaShawn McCoy would be getting. Doug Marrone was just running Leonard Fournette into 8-man boxes,
slamming him up the middle.
Yeah, and hoping that it would work out well.
Right, and that he would bust one. Yeah. And just to look at this year as a sample size, he had one game where he exploded for 25 plus fantasy points. That was way back in week 2.
One run where he busted through coverage, looking like Derrick Henry, and we know that's an outlier. That play is that doesn't. It's not indicative of what we can. I don't think what we can expect tomorrow. The argument in favor of the Bucs backfield is that I think it's fair to expect that the Bucs win this game, beat the Falcons. They're a better team at this point. I know it's a division game. I know it's on the road, and those games can be weird, can be tricky, but you're talking about a desperate Tampa team. They need to win games. They're 8-5. They're behind other seeds, other teams in the conference. They need to win these games. You cannot lose to a 4-win Atlanta team who will be missing Julio Jones. So if they have a lead, maybe that helps Fournette. But that's not something that this is a situation where I don't want to rely on the potential for positive game script to give me a reason to play Leonard Fournette if I have him as a handcuff, if I'm the Ronald Jones owner, or maybe I'm not the Ronald Jones owner, but I have Leonard Fournette sitting on my bench and I feel like I have a decision to make in my backfield. That's the game script potential is the only argument I can make in favor of Fournette or Shady, because we have to include Shady McCoy into the mix because the Bucs put him into the mix last week. So I think that's a situation overall to avoid. The Falcons are actually decent at stopping the run. So I think the Bucs will lean on the pass game early and often. And Fournette has caught passes in his career, but I don't think you would necessarily think of Fournette as a pass-catching running back. He kind of did it out of necessity in Jacksonville, and they weren't super productive targets at the time. I kind of feel like that's why that was a selling point for Tampa Bay getting him.
Yeah, as a pass-catching back.
I think they were misled because he was force-fed targets last season, which is why he was one of the best receiving backs last season, and why his stock was raised coming into this season, because he had his best season as a pro, off the back of a ton of targets.
He had 100 targets. Leonard Fournette had 100 targets. So that was never going to happen in Tampa Bay, not with these wide receivers. And I know Tampa Bay Tom Brady has a history of checking it down to pass catching running backs. But yeah, I mean, Leonard Fournette is not. He's not James White, as far as fulfilling that role with Tom Brady. So you can't expect a high floor with pass catching abilities. I don't think it'll be there. I don't think he will be a feature role. I think he's somebody that, despite the situation, you have to shy away from. Same goes for Shady. It's impossible to project that either one of these guys could pay dividends. I think it makes sense to look elsewhere.
If I had to bet on one, and this is an indictment on Leonard Fournette, I would
almost want to say Shady because he can catch passes.
Go Shady here. This is a guy, last game, he played 31 snaps with Ronald Jones in the game. He had 4 rushes for 32 yards at a 8
yards a pop.
8 yards per attempt. Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's pretty damn good.
Yeah, and obviously
it's limited,
he's an older back, but he's coming into the game. He's fresh. He only played 5 games. He played in 5 games prior to the last game that he played, and he'd been pretty much the healthy scratch since week 10, or since week 7 really. So he's coming in super fresh.
Yeah, not a ton of work for LaShawn McCoy this year.
Right, and if he ends up being the James White for the next 2 weeks, while Ronald Jones gets healthy, and Tom Brady just wants to put this away and get to the playoffs, I could almost see that happening.
Yeah, it's not a situation I can endorse, but I would almost, if I'm in a situation where I'm staring at Leonard Fournette and I'm staring down those sights and I have a decision to make, might almost make more sense to pivot to LaShawn McCoy because of the upside, and I would say his track record indicates he's a much better pass catching running back than Leonard Fournette. It's low end upside, but sometimes that's the only upside is all you need to get motivated to plug in a starting spot for the fantasy playoffs. It's dicey. Hopefully you can avoid the situation, but I don't hate the what might be considered a contrarian pick to, if you have to pivot to one of these guys, go with LaShawn McCoy.